All right. Let's give this a second. Looks like we are live. What's up, everybody? Good morning / midday to you here on the East Coast. This is your host this week. I feel a bit like a host this week, but it's been a lot of fun. So this is Patrick Kenny here, in case you couldn't read on the Facebooks or on the YouTubes on the channel. It's noon on Saturday if you're watching the replay on this. And I'm really excited about today's guest. My friend Brian McCarthy is not only wicked smart and debonairishly handsome, he's also really talented with the spoken word, but more so than me. And that's saying a lot because, as you know, I'm the world's best copywriter. Joking, all kidding aside. Brian is brilliant with a process he's come up with for using case studies that convert. And before I bring him on, when I first heard about case studies, for me, and like a lot of people, you think about big corporations doing some sort of white paper. So this is really fantastic stuff. So in my world of video, where I do YouTube ads, these are powerful things that are using, and he's going to go into this in a second when I bring him on, and correct me if I'm wrong on stuff, but using the work that you've done with a client or a customer and putting it together in a way that gets people really excited to work with you. It's not just a case study. It's a process. It's a formula that can really ramp up your sales and really build that goodwill. Because right now, as of this live, as of this recording, people are trying to sort out two camps. Allison Carpio, who was on earlier this week, we talked about the people that are just like hustle, hustle, hustle. And the people are like, let's go dance in the fields with poppies and stuff. And you've got to be somewhere in the middle of acknowledging your customer circumstances, acknowledging the reality. But one of the best ways to build goodwill and that trust is to have case studies. And Brian's going to go into here in a minute and share their experiences. So when your customers share their experiences on video and talk about you, it's not you talking about you. Your customers are telling like, hey, I was in this situation and I had this experience working with so-and-so's company. And that allows people to have their epiphany. So Brian, I'm going to shut up on this. Brian's going to elaborate on this. He's put together some slides. He's got about half an hour before he actually has to move. So if you have questions about case studies and creating videos like this, please go ahead and drop those in the comments. There's a little bit of a delay. So get those questions in quick if you want to have those answered. I know it's Saturday and probably not going to have everybody we did over the week, but if you do have questions, put those in there and I'll get Brian to answer those. So without further ado, my friend Brian, the great and powerful McCarthy is here. Welcome, Brian. How are you, buddy?
What up? Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks for being on here, man. This is great. I'm really looking forward to learning about this. This is something that we've talked about before, and I've actually used some of your stuff, so I'm really looking forward to your slides.
Yeah, I saw your case study YouTube ad, and it looked awesome. And I was
thanks, man. Thanks.
I didn't create it myself.
Well, it was inspired by your process, and it was your feedback that helped me do that. So thank you for that. So awesome. Let's dig in, man. I'm really excited to look at these slides. You want to dig into your presentation and start?
Sure. Let's just go.
Or do you want to tell the people a bit about you and kind of what you do and who your ideal client is? Do a little intro.
Yeah, I do focus mostly on case studies. I used to do a ton of launches and sales page copy, and then it was like, this is really stressful. How about we just do case studies and sell more regularly? And so yeah, that's been my focus. My clients are generally a lot of like coaches that help people start and grow businesses, fitness coaches also, mindset coaches, and yeah, people selling courses and that used to sell live events. Rest in peace. Hopefully they'll come back someday.
Now virtual live events, right?
Yeah.
But it works pretty much in any scenario, whether you're a guy like me. So, we mentioned my case study, or if you're a huge company and you have lots of happy customers.
Yeah, that's the big thing that I've yet to tap into, but it's just waiting there of like, if you're a big company and you have a sales team, like case studies are super valuable, especially if they're like answering questions, through email or through chats or whatever. Like you just give your sales team freaking case studies that they can be like, oh, you sound like this person. Yeah. And I've got clients doing stuff like that and it works really well. And yeah, so if bigger companies will start doing that, that would be really good for them.
I would imagine, speaking of these big companies, selling is probably pretty important right now. So if you had a case study or someone had questions and
we'll get there, Patrick. We'll get there.
Just, hey, here's a case study. This will help you. I imagine that might help them, right?
Yep. It's all part of the presentation.
There you go. Awesome. All right. So real quick, I'm going to plug Brian's website, marketingwithbrian.com, and check that out. He's got a book you can download, Case Studies That Close Sales. So you check that out. I'll remind you at the end of this. So I'm going to bring your screen on. There we go. And I'm going to sit back and take some notes. And again, if you have questions here on the line, we've got a half a dozen or so people here live. So you have questions, drop them in there, and I'll bring them up with the great and all-powerful Brian McCarthy. Take it over, brother.
Let's do this. So shit's getting fucking real out there. People are freaking out.
Earmuffs, kids. Earmuffs.
No one knows what to do. And now we're going to talk about how to get through this. We got this, people.
We got this. Let's do this.
So yeah, not to be all like fucking that asshole fear marketer person. Sorry, Patrick. I probably should have asked about the swearing. Or
no, that's all right. Hey, you know what? It's a colorful language is going to be. Hey, we had Chris on earlier, so that's all right.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine.
It was like a movie, so it's fine.
I'm not going to fight with anybody. Yeah, but anyway, you know, we all know shit's getting bad. The scary part is like we don't know how long this is going to go for. Like maybe it'll end in a month. Maybe things are going to get a lot worse. You know, the government's planning for like, what if this is 18 months? You know, stock market's tanking. Who knows when that's going to turn around? We just don't know. Like, this is super scary times economically. So for business owners, I know I've been seeing it a lot. People are just, you know, cutting budgets where they can. They're just holding on to money, trying to like see how they can hunker down and ride this out. It means it's a really bad time for chasing shiny objects, you know, that fancy new marketing formula that's going to solve all your problems, or, you know, whatever strategy or thing. Like, people are just kind of be like cutting back on things that maybe aren't quite tried and true. They're going to want things that are just more fundamental, more basic, less risky, things that you know are going to work, that are going to be safer. You know, this probably isn't the best time to go try some new crazy thing.
So I shouldn't launch my toilet paper profits 2000.
No, absolutely do that. Yeah. So, you know, if you want to just like cut the expenses, boil down to basics, do the fundamentals, focus on the things that are safe, that you know work. That's going to be case studies. You know, if you think about it, if you're starting a business, what's the best thing to have? It's, you know, that one success story that you can start pimping out. And, you know, if you look at examples, you know, Jeff Walker became really big, and one, you know, in part of that, it was just pimping out the look what we did, the Fuzzy Yellow Balls case study, showing how that launch blew things up. One thing I love to show off is that Diamond Dallas Page yoga video from a couple years ago that, you know, almost 50 million views from one case study video.
Oh yeah, so, he was the yoga trainer. This guy was a paratrooper.
Yeah.
You know what? I did not even think about that as an actual case study video.
Yeah, it's one of the best ones.
It's an epic video. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. That's a case study.
It makes you want to do.
Yeah. Well, see, dude, I'm learning too.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's if you have one piece of marketing, it's gonna be, hey, look what I did for this other person just like you, and then it's like a no-brainer. So. And the other cool thing about case studies is you can just slide them into whatever you're doing. Like we talked about, you've got awesome YouTube ads. We've also used them with Facebook ads. You can use them on SEO. You can use them for organic. You can use them print ads, webinars. You can put them together and make a book out of them. Use them for cold traffic funnel. You can make a whole launch that's just case studies. Companies have done that and done really well. I know one company, I won't mention the names, so I don't know if they'd be cool with that or not. But basically they were going down the tubes, and then they just did a new launch with, you know, 8 days of case studies, and then launched the course, and they were back making money and surviving. So now you're probably like, oh yeah, case studies, everyone does them. I know, you just show the here I was sad and fat, and now I'm happy and ripped and everyone loves me. And it's like, yeah, those are great. It's good. But it's also really not going to work super well right now, because people want more than that. They're just kind of before and after case studies. People can't really connect with them. And it just feels like marketing. It's just, you know, they're not really getting any value. They're just showing what can happen if they give you money. So the new way to do case studies is the hero journey method that I, you know, just kind of took these two things and mushed them together. And it's, oops. got my headphones falling off. So it's not just, the before and after, hey, look what can happen if you buy from me. It's actually making this valuable. And you make it valuable by connecting with them. We'll go into how to do that in a bit more detail in a second. Teaching them, making the case study actual valuable and useful to them, and then finally inspiring them. So you want this to be something that people, like, after they've read it, it's a good piece of content. It's something that they want to share, that they read, and now they want to read more of your stuff because they know that the content you put out is actually good, and it's not just, you're trying to make sales.
Yeah, buy my stuff. Yeah. And just real quick for those watching live and the replay, that the hero's journey, that is the Hollywood movie formula that Brian has broken down into this process for case studies. And it's epically powerful. I used that in that. So the case study that Brian's mentioning of mine. So if you're on any of my lists, you'll probably see my remarketing ad with my testimonial montage, which is my case study. It uses that process, how it's put together, because of Brian. So definitely, I've used it and it works well, so I can speak to it. Go to marketingwithbrian.com, download his book, and use this stuff. It works. Okay, enough of that. This is awesome. Continue, please.
Yeah. I mean, when you follow the formula, especially the way I lay out, I teach in my book, like, you end up doing these things automatically. So going back to things are sad now. The other things to keep in mind is that, as this goes on, like, if this continues, like, things are kind of going to get worse. I know there's been a lot of like, oh, hopey, uplifting messages lately, and like, that's all well and good, but like, depression's going to be a real thing if this continues. Like, people are going to get bummed the fuck out, especially if we get lockdown going on and people just like can't leave the house. They're stuck with seeing the same people as much as they love them, and like, seeing the same person 24/7 is going to drive anybody crazy. People are going to be online more because they've got nothing else to do. They're already online a ton, but now if they can't even go to, bars and restaurants or whatever, they're just gonna be on their phone even more. And they're gonna need some more hope, and not just like the fluffy, like, we got this team, but like something that they can actually hang their hat on, cling to, and be like, oh yeah, this can be real for me.
And I think that's real quick. I think that's so important, for people. Like, people need hope, and again, not the hopey, changey political stuff that you're seeing, but for me, I would say, from my perspective, seeing this, like, we're seeing businesses shift online out of necessity because everyone's home. So when everyone's doing the Me Too marketing, which means everyone's doing the exact same thing, this is something that's a proven formula that not enough people are doing.
Nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing it except for my clients and whoever reads my book.
Right. So please do this. It works so well. And the need for hope is one of kind of a retreat. Like, so people go, oh, wow, I can get this result. And they go through that journey, that kind of hope, a realistic hope, I would say, right? Realistic hope, but kind of a retreat. So that's so important. That's so important, especially right now, more than ever.
And you're giving them something positive to focus on. It's like, okay, everything's in shambles, but they read your case study on, fitness or whatever. And it's like, okay, now I can I've got a hope for actually getting in shape. And that's like, I can at least focus on that as everything falls apart around me.
Yeah. You're giving them, you can use this process to give your potential clients a welcome distraction. That's either going to pay off immediately, or B, when this is all the dust settles, they're going to remember how you made them feel. For sure. And they're going to want to work with you. So please use this, my friends. Please use this. It's so powerful.
Yeah. And that's another reason. That's a great point. Like, this is the time to step up and lead and give valuable information, not just fluffy marketing, which is a big difference in the case studies we're talking about versus what everyone else is doing.
Right. 100%.
Okay, cool. So how do you make these case studies actually good, and so people like them and want to read them and want to buy your stuff, and you make their lives better versus they're just sad? So first, you want to connect with them. Couple ways to do that. The first is demographics. That's, hey, this is someone who looks, hey, Patrick, would you like to see how another white male made money in marketing? Like, just that kind of general background stuff of like, they can see the person and go, oh, this person's like me. I know how hard it is for white men to make it in the online business world. It's been a real struggle for us.
I'm sorry, with dashing good looks, it's really rough in this world for Yeah, that's so mean. I don't appreciate that
So
comment.
brave.
I struggle daily with this. So it's hard to look this good. And, I get dressed up and put the hoodie on, and it's hard to look this good. So
Your hair looks great, man. All right. And then, so the other way to connect is, so you want to do both of these. You want to do demographics, the general stuff, and then you want to get that deeper level. You want to connect on the same fears that they have, the pains they have, their motivation, their deeper why. Then that's when you really get people to be like, okay, yeah, this is exactly what I'm going through. And so here are some examples. This is one of my clients who sells a course on how to become a freelance accountant, or bookkeeper rather. So here we have different intros for different case studies that target, different desires. One's talking about, or one of the stories really gets into the freedom to being able to travel. Another one is having the freedom to spend time with the kids. And another is just the more going after the meaning of like, I was just in a job I hated and I needed something I could care about that, I would get me excited to wake up in the morning and not just feeling like misery. So these are different hooks because different types of people are going to resonate with different types of stories. So these are different hooks that you can get different. I'm just going to say different like 19 times in the next two sentences. So, so you get a variety of avatars. Bam! That is how you use different words to say the same thing. All right. Next up is the other big part of these is teaching. So you're giving actionable lessons. This is the stuff that you do in good emails and good content marketing anyways. You're giving stuff that they can use immediately. So that could be like some kind of like tip or hack or lesson thing. It could also be a mindset shift. That can be super powerful. You just get them to think about their situation differently, get them to think about their problem differently. That's a huge one because then they're going to look for you to solve it, or just give them another way to think about their situation themselves that can, help them feel empowered. And you can also start to introduce your unique mechanism and teach around that and start to give some information on how to use it. But, of course, if they need the full thing, they got to get to you. And some examples, this is one of my coaches or one of my clients who helps six-figure business owners scale up to 7 and beyond. And so what we did was we shared like actual stuff that if you read these, his name's Ron Reich, by the way. He's fucking awesome. So yeah, go learn from him if you want to scale up. So we actually like shared some of this stuff inside his unique mechanism. So like part of that is his Genius Profit system, and that's about creating, part of that is creating high ticket offers. So in this top one about, hey, I made 100,000 a month, we talked about this guy who was struggling, and then, Ron came in and helped him create his first high ticket offer by, talking to his customers and finding out what they need. So that right there can be like a light bulb moment of like, oh yeah, high ticket. I haven't thought about that. I should do that. And you're giving them some information like, oh yeah, it's about figuring out how to help your customers. And so they could go do it themselves. They might find out they need more guidance. So this is going to be a great opportunity. Like, oh yeah, I need more help. I'll go to Ron. Another thing we shared was another thing he specializes in is launches. So we talked about how to get more engagement with launches. He does this whole part of his process is about sending these videos out early to, share your values and connect with people that way. And so the engagement is off the charts. We've got, people sharing their stories of how they use that part of his plan to get a ton of engagement before their launch. Building an army of affiliates. That's another. We actually talk about like what Selena Sue did, who's one of his clients, what she did to get so many clients. We actually share some of the tactics she used, so you can take that and you do it yourself.
Oh, these tactics you're saying those are in your book?
No. So the tactics, these are part of the case studies.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So we're teaching tactics for getting affiliates, for increasing revenue, for increasing engagement. But it's like these are just kind of like smaller tactics. And if you want the bigger process, if you want help really maximizing those tactics, and B, like the bigger process that this is part of, that, we also talk about the results of the bigger process, then go to Ron. So people are getting helpful information and they're seeing, holy shit, there's so many ways this guy can help me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is powerful. So in the previous one, so these are emails, and the one that you had a couple slides ago with your other client where it was like the profiling what people like the epiphanies people had, how do those tie together?
I should have explained this better. So these are examples. These are copy and pasted from the actual case studies. So like,
got it. Cool.
if you go here, like this is the introduction of my case studies, and we're hitting on the pain and the demographics.
Awesome.
And these are more like the middle of the case studies where we start talking about the tactics that they used.
So it starts with, if I'm hearing you right, it starts with, kind of the aha that each type of, outcome or situation someone's in, you can go, oh, well, they got the results because I'm in that situation. And then this is deeper down, building on that transition.
Yeah. You're connecting at first. So they go, oh, this person's in the exact same situation I'm in. And then, you're going down deeper into the lessons. And I mean, like the aha kind of mindsets, I just didn't include those examples. That can be stuff like maybe with Kevin Rogers, actually, one of the case studies I'm working on with him is how he helped somebody overcome imposter syndrome. So like, that's more of an aha moment. That's going to be like one of the core lessons in that case study of like, here's how he overcame imposter syndrome and how you can too.
Yeah.
That's more of like a mental lesson versus like, here's a tactic you can go use.
That's great. Yeah.
And then I think people that the aha moment attached to that is like, oh yeah, maybe I don't need a ton of experience and like, maybe I am just ready right now. Okay, cool. If they can do it, so can I.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then just so people listening, that's Kevin Rogers of Copy Chief. He's pretty epic human being that Brian and I both love. And I believe you and I are going to be doing a case study together on that.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. I'm sure you'll get details about my case study for Kevin that Brian is facilitating. So if you want to see that in action, I'm sure that's going to be coming to an email list near you.
If you start seeing YouTube ads for how to become a successful freelance copywriter, that's our fault. That's what we're doing.
Buddy, this is awesome stuff. This is great. Thanks so much for doing this.
Sweet, you got it. And then, so the next core piece in your case studies is inspiring people, actually helping them feel like they can do it. A big part of this is actually showing the struggle that they might have had using your product or service. For some products, like this doesn't really apply, if they buy a hammer, like whatever, I use my fucking hammer. But for like coaching and online courses, this is huge, because I've even talked to clients who say, or talked to customers who say that, they were afraid to buy because they saw these amazing case studies and they're like, oh, no way I can do that. But in our case studies, we actually shared some of the struggles. We were like, no, this person used this module and actually like, they tried to start a business and the first 4 times it failed, but then the 5th time they got it. And people are like, oh, wait, I can fail a couple times and still have success. Oh, great. It takes away that like need to be perfect. And it also makes your product more believable, because people just see that like, oh, now I shit roses after I bought your thing. And they're like, this is bullshit. But if you show the struggle, then it becomes like, it's like if you're selling a car and you're like, hey, by the way, there's like a dinged fender and you're going to need to get that fixed. They're like, oh, cool. You're being honest with me and not trying to like hide this.
Well, so, it builds rapport.
Yeah.
It builds that trust. And I can tell you firsthand from going through that to where, people will go, oh, wait, you too? I thought I was the only one. I thought everyone was perfect. And whenever you go like, hey, I struggle too, and I have this thing in my business, people really bond with that.
Absolutely. That's a great point. I mean, people feel alone, and sharing that struggle is just going to make them feel even more connected and like they're not alone. And they're going to feel good, and they're going to have you to thank for that.
Yeah.
So
now more than ever. Now with everybody at home more than ever. These are more so for anybody watching this live or on the re-record or on the recording. Now more than ever, I believe, and I'm sure Brian you'll concur with this, it is more important than ever to make people feel a sense of community when everyone's sitting at home. And case studies are absolutely one of the most efficient and easiest things to do right now while you have time to put that goodwill into your community while building some branding for your own stuff. That's my perspective of it.
It starts creating community because people can start to feel connected with these people.
Yep.
Oh yeah, they're like me. So yeah, show the struggle because it makes you look legit, and it shows people that don't have to be perfect. And also inspire them, show what this can look in your life. A lot of the case studies out there, which are glorified testimonials, it's just like, and then I lost 50 pounds and like, look at me now. It's like, cool. That's one part of it. But it wasn't just, you didn't lose weight so you could take this picture. How does this how do you feel around, your wife now? How do you feel at work? What was important about losing weight to you? And like, what are some highlight moments that have happened as a result? You share that stuff and you're going to connect on a way deeper level, because now it's like people don't just want a picture of them looking good. They want the energy they get from feeling good so they can be at their best at work. They want to they want to get those glances of people going, oh my God, you look so good.
Yep.
So
they want that dopamine hit.
So this is, in my case studies, this is basically the results section. Is we're showing people what their life can look like and what that feels like. We've got, this is one of the case studies I did for Ramit Sethi, where the guy was talking about like how he can't believe this is his life now and like how grateful he is. And then we're also showing a concrete example of that, of like, hey, here's him just riding a Formula One car because now he has the money and time to do that kind of thing. The middle one is from a client who helps people who helps starving artists become six-figure artists. So we shared a story of someone who was, really struggling to sell her art. And now after the system, like, she's doing so well that she opened up her own studio. And so we've got a picture of the studio and talking about like, the excitement around what that feels like. And then our good friend Melanie Warren on the case study I did for Kevin Rogers, talking about like the joy of being financially independent and how that allows her to do things like have a life and start dancing every night instead of just sweating at her desk trying to cobble together as much money as possible. Okay, so there's a lot more we could talk about with the case studies. Like, those are three really important things. We didn't even get into showing how your product or service is better than everything else out there. That's another key thing that's part of the hero's journey sequence that nobody else freaking does in their case studies. Overcoming objections, that's a fun one. Like, just figuring out what the objections are and how to weave them in different parts of your case studies. That's actually less formulaic and more of an intuitive sense of knowing your audience and just knowing how to write a case study, that you'll be able to do that. Creating and defeating like a common enemy in your case studies, keeping the story compelling. That's a big one. A lot of times people are just like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. It's like, no, you got to like create more obstacles for people to overcome. We can go into more detail about that. And then grabbing attention with the multiple doors strategy, which is what I use in my case studies. That's a whole nother can of worms that I don't have time to go into at the moment. But pretty much everything is covered in my book, Case Studies that Close Sales. It's free on my website. And yeah, I've also got a bunch of samples that you can look at to see how to do them awesomely. If you want my help creating them or helping train your team to create them, just reach out at brian@marketingwithbrian.com.
Awesome. Thanks, man. That was fantastic. And with 4 minutes to spare, my friend.
Boom.
So,
what time is it?
Hey, buddy, I know you are pressed for time. I thank you so much for coming on live with me and doing this training. For anyone watching this, Brian is the man when it comes to this stuff. Like, he has this down to an absolute science. So if you are thinking about hiring someone to do this for you, so that you don't have to worry about all the nuances, and you have the resources and you know that you want to do this, email Brian at marketingwithbrian.com. For those of you who are exploring this and want to learn how to do case studies and maybe take that first step to see if it's something you want to do, definitely go to marketingwithbrian.com, download his case study book, learn all the cool stuff, and then hire Brian to do it for you, because he's doing one for me. He's doing one while you're doing stuff for Kevin. It's pretty epic content, I can tell you firsthand. So
this is what I do now. This has become my life.
Yeah. Awesome, brother. Well, I will let you go. Thank you so much, everyone who was on here live. Thank you for showing up live. You're watching the replay. You can put comments in there, questions for Brian, or you can email him outright. Real quick, tomorrow is a rest day because it's Sunday, time to be with family. On Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern, Angie Coley is going to join me and talk about her offers, her MVP offer system. She's got something new and secretive that she's going to share, which is going to be pretty awesome. Then our friend Rachel Mazza is going to be on at Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. She's going to show us how to use advertorials to boost sales with less traffic. And then our friend Mike Renard joins me Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, to talk about story mapping for Facebook ads, which is another important traffic source to be using right now. So that's what's coming up. in the days ahead. So have a restful Saturday. Nothing tomorrow. You can catch up on all the lives that you missed tomorrow. And then join us 4 p.m. Monday for Angie Coley. All right, my friends, we're going to sign off. Y'all have a great Saturday. We'll see you on Monday. Bye now.